A camera, by definition, is an optical instrument used to record images or film either locally, transmitted to another location, or both. Cameras can be used for a wide variety of things. Some of its primary uses are for the fields of film and photography. Professional photography companies such as Camdar Studio and film companies like Focus Features depend on cameras. With these companies, they are able to apply it into their art and with various techniques and advancements like motion capture. Cameras are also used to film things that are not related to celluloid or photography and can be used for commercial reasons, including public service announcements and advertising for big tertiary companies such as the Hudson Bay Company. Cameras are also used casually when you want to take a picture of your friends for fun, capture a moment from a faraway trip. Cameras are also used for more applicable reasons, such as the Hubble telescope, which has a camera that captures infrared or ultraviolet images. Basic security cameras are also needed to capture undeniable evidence that a particular event took place.
There are many different camera models. You can get these camera models from the major camera companies like Canon, Fujifilm, Nikon, and Sony. These various cameras you can get are mainly split between professional and casual video shooting or camera shooting. For example, if you want to shoot professional films, camera models that can be suggested are the AX33 4K Handycam, Coolpix P7800, or the Canon EOS Rebel T2i, which can sometimes also be used for professional photography. Some of the specific photographical cameras are camera models like the A99V A-mount camera with 35mm full-frame Sony model and the Fujifilm X100T. Some of the casual shooting video cameras primarily come from Sony, and they are the FDR X1000V 4K action camera or the CX900 Handycam with 1.0 sensor.
We're going to be talking about the specific model of the Canon EOS T2i Rebel, which is the camera I have. The specifics of the model is that it has an 18 megapixel CMOS or complementary metal oxide semiconductor APS-C sensor, which is a technology for capturing images digitally using the photoelectric effect, and a DIGIC 4 megaprocessor, which improves the image speed, capture, and quality. This also improves upon tonal range and also maximizes each pixel's light gathering efficiency. It also has an ISO of 100 to 6400, expendable to 12800 for shooting from bright to dim light. There is improved EOS movie mode with manual exposure, expanded recording, new movie crop recording in 640 x 480, and external microphone in terminal for access for improved sound quality. A dual layer sensor is also present as well with 63 zones. This helps measure the amount of light, color, and luminosity with high accuracy, making it likely to have great exposure for your photo. It also can shoot up to 3.7 frames per second for up to 6 consecutive RAW files or approximately 34 resolution JPEGs, shooting at speeds of up to 1/4000 of a second. On the top of the camera there is a top dial called the mode dial with the options of video camera, night portrait mode, sports mode, close-up mode, landscape mode, portrait mode, non-flash, full auto, creative auto, program, time value, aperture value, manual, and automatic depth of field mode. Yeah! The video camera mode records at the options of having the film videos with the qualities of about 640 x 480p to 1920 x 1080p, with it being at a frame rate of 24 to 60 frames per second. The night portrait mode is primarily used for taking pictures at night by using a combination of flash and a slow shutter speed, producing a longer exposure time. The result is a brighter and softer background with even more lighting. There's also a sports mode that helps access a number of settings that helps capture a fast-moving object by adjusting the aperture speed and shutter speed also. The close-up mode controls the aperture as well, controlling the depth of field for the background, blurring it. The focus on the object is dependent on the lens and photographer. The landscape mode is essentially the opposite to close-up mode, where they equal the depth of field for both the background and the object in front of the camera. The portrait mode changes the depth of field similar to the close-up mode, but with a shorter depth of field, with the background not being as blurry. The creative auto mode is more of the manual type of mode, where you get to control the aperture and shutter speed, where the options are presented on the LCD screen of your camera. Program auto mode basically chooses the best settings for shutter and aperture speed, but allows the user to override them and change the defaults. The full auto and non-flash are pretty self-explanatory, with full auto being the full automatic settings and non-flash being full auto but without flash. Time value mode is like program auto, but is more specifically for shutter speed, which controls how light is exposed to the camera, either blurring or sharpening objects in motion. The aperture value mode is exactly like the latter mentioned, but with aperture, which dictates the amount of depth of field. Manual mode helps you dictate the settings for every facet of the camera, like controlling aperture, shutter speed, ISO, and exposure value. Automatic depth of field mode generally means that the camera chooses the best setting for aperture when the focused image is selected. On the top of the camera, there is also an additional dial called the main dial, used to scroll left to right on the LCD screen. There is also an ISO button, which also allows the photographer to go to the ISO settings, which controls the amount of light the camera would receive.
On the front of the camera, the features are located on the button just below the sticker of the name of the model that allows you to remove the lens and change it. There's also a button on the top left of the camera that allows the photographer to take photos, which is otherwise known as the shutter button. On the back of the camera, there is a menu button, which allows you to access the menu, which helps you control the frame rate and quality of the videos, the LCD screen's brightness. The display button turns on and off the LCD screen. The AV button directs the user to the exposure compensation dial of the modes that requires you to adjust the settings of the aperture, like the ADEP mode or the AV mode. The quick control button lets you scroll through the options presented on the LCD screen, depending on what mode you're on. The white balance setting allows you to adjust the filters of the cameras to what would be appropriate to the settings. It is also used as an up button when scrolling through something, which can be set for the buttons that will be later talked about, depending on where those buttons are. The drive mode helps adjust the settings in terms of how you want to shoot your photo, from single shooting versus timing your camera for you to get in position with the rest of the group. The picture style mode allows you to shift from different ways that the camera can render its images, from portrait mode to monochromatic. The autofocus mode changes the way it focuses on the image, whether or not it's locked on the focus manually or setup, or AI, which is artificial intelligence, adjusted, having the camera tell what's in focus. A lens is an object whose purpose is to change the focus of light to one direction with the aid of refraction in order to create an image. There are two types of lenses that exist: simple lenses and compound lenses, both of which are created by having a transparent glass-like material. A simple lens is made of only one simple and basic element. An example of this would be a magnifying glass, while a compound lens is made up of at least two lenses along a common axis. An example of this is a microscope. Cameras take the refracted image and then store it as photographic film, or will store it either chemically or electronically. Some examples of lenses are the Zeiss lenses, which are used by the Sony company. An example of the Zeiss camera lens is photography lenses. Photography lenses come in three parts: SLR lenses, CSC lenses, and Zeiss Icon system lenses. SLR stands for single lens reflex, and they work by having a system usually consisting of a mirror and a prism. Some examples of SLR lenses are Otis lenses, Novus lenses, and classic lenses. CSC stands for compact system camera, and these lenses do not work by using a mirror reflex viewfinder, but rather by using a system made of an electronic viewfinder. Some examples of the CSC lenses include the Batis lenses, Luxia lenses, and the Tuat lenses. The Zeiss Icon system lenses are good for conditions with bad lighting. An example of it are the ZM lenses. In photography, a filter is an object that is created by having an optical filter that selects what wavelengths to pass through the filter, inserted in the path that the light will travel, thus changing how the overall image will appear. In photography, there are 5 main types of filters: polarizing filters, neutral density filters, warming and cooling filters, enhancement filters, and graduated color filters. A polarizing filter is a type of filter that is typically used indoors and lessens the reflection created from water and glass. It will also decrease how shiny an object appears in the overall photo. A polarizing filter will also improve the quality of the color and will lessen the amount of haze in the photo. Neutral density filters lessen the amount of light that will enter the camera, giving the photo much less exposure. Neutral density filters are also capable of making a picture appear much smoother. Warming and cooling filters are no longer commonly used, as a person can change the warmth and coolness of a photo by changing the white balance to what they need. However, these were useful and people still used film cameras. Enhancement filters are filters that intensify a certain color, and they come in red, green, blue, and sepia. Graduated color filters are similar to enhancement filters as they enhance a photo with a certain color. However, graduated color filters enhance the prominent color in landscape. For example, in a picture of a sky, the blue color of the sky would be much more enhanced.
Of course, you would want to know where you want to print these photos off of. Usually you would use your typical printer that would function the same as your regular printer at home and have the same basic features. The only thing to keep out for is that you would have to adjust the picture size when adjusting settings in the printer dialog box, and also the quality depending on the printer. You also have to use photo paper for sharper and higher quality photos, as normal papers would just absorb the ink and blur the photos a bit. What would be recommended to use is some standard photographic printers like the Pixma Pro 1 professional inkjet printer, as it helps print photos with exceptional quality with improved saturation and darker, deeper blacks. Another model for professional photographers could be the Canon Pixma MG7520. Printing photos with qualities up to 9600 times 2400 to 2400 times 4800 dpi when printing colors. When printing in black and white, the resolution could go up to 600 times 600 dpi. This printer could also be printing photos with customizable sizes up to 8.5 times 11 inches. The benefits with this model is that it can connect to your printer or other devices wirelessly and is Wi-Fi compatible with a computer.
Created using Powtoon.